Welcome to the BXG podcast where pop culture and nerd culture are meet at the nexus of the universe and melded as seamlessly as spandex and soap operas. I am one of your hosts, Breton Pestwick, alongside my host, the pride of Fredonia, Greg Filson. We're off to a rough start. How are you tonight?
I'm okay. Some car stuff this week, which is just, I think everyone knows when you have car stuff, it's always stressful. Took my car in, the service engine light came on, took it in, and they're like, oh, we think we fixed it, but if it comes back on, come in, and then it could be worse. Could
Don't
be really
you hate
major.
that shit? Could
be really bad, and I drive a, might be worse. So I drive everybody drives a BMW in Santa Barbara. I drive a 2005 BMW. Whatever. It's a nice car. I really like the car. Love the car. So I took it into the BMW dealership. They gave me a loaner. They gave me a brand new BMW to drive around.
Right.
Which is amazing. Easily the best car I've ever driven in my life. Not even close. It's like when you rent a car, you get like a Toyota Corolla or something. Fine car. This car is insane. It's an X1. It's like a little crossover vehicle. Super nice. I'm glad that they did. I mean, that's what they do because they're trying to sell you cars.
Yeah, right.
But they should.
Right,
they don't know. They don't know that I'm already.
They don't know.
They don't know that I'm buying a brand new Ford Bronco and that I put my deposit in. They don't know.
For when you murder someone.
Yeah. Well, I didn't get a white one. I didn't get a white one. I got a black one. So that blood hides better when you have a black car than with the white one. But yeah. So they're doing that. It could be a big thing. Hoping not. Could be couple $1,000s.
I don't think that's a thing. That should be a thing. Like, well, we think we fixed it. It's like either you did or you didn't.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is,
how's that a thing?
They fixed the one thing that was wrong, that they knew was 100% wrong, okay. And then otherwise, if they had to do something else, it involved a lot more labor, which would have cost me a lot.
Sure.
It would have been unnecessary labor if it was actually fine. So it's one of those things where like, ooh, well, we fixed that. That means the other thing's probably wrong. So.
When do you get the new car?
I asked the guy today. He said September was probably I'm in the middle of the group of people that reserved the Bronco.
Right.
And so he said September is probably the latest. I'm saying September because that's just how things work when somebody, especially in the pandemic and stuff. I was actually supposed to get it this month before things went to crap, of course. But it is what it is. It would be awesome. It would be my second ever brand new car, and then you owned my first ever brand new car.
Yeah, that's true.
While. But hopefully things work out better because I put a lot of work into the car you bought from me. When you bought it, I did everything. I put everything new in it. Yeah, I mean, so that's been my day. It's basically been that.
Yeah.
That's been my week. Worked a lot. But no. Other than that, things are fine. I mean, car stuff's car stuff. It is what everybody deals with it. It's not fun, but we all deal with it. Cars aren't perfect. But how are you?
Still got the knee thing going. I sat in like the same position for the better part of last week, so my hamstrings got all locked up.
Oh, yeah.
So I had to go to the doctor, and he gave me a muscle relaxer. So now I just shit myself all the time.
I've never taken a muscle
relaxer. That's not true.
Not that I don't think so. I don't think I've taken it.
He says, well, we could try a muscle relaxer, but it'll make you drowsy. I said, that'd be great. I could take it before I go to bed because I have a hard time falling asleep. He said, yeah, it'll make you real tired. So I took it last night, and I was neither tired nor relaxed. So, But now my legs, I've been like stretching and stuff.
Okay.
Get a little light yoga.
Light yoga. I need to get back into yoga.
Do a little hot yoga.
I didn't do hot yoga. I just did yoga once a week.
I like yogurt, preferably frozen.
Okay. Frozen yogurt.
And actually ice cream.
Right. Made with full fat milk and that kind of.
Yeah. Not actually frozen yogurt at all.
Not frozen yogurt at all. I like frozen yogurt, though. There is actually a really good frozen yogurt place in town here that I haven't been doing in a while because I don't do much. But it's good. You would like it if you're ever out in Santa Barbara.
I wouldn't like it as much as I would like ice cream.
No, because I will actually take you to the two best ice cream places you could ever go to here, and then you'd be like, I don't want frozen yogurt ever. I want McDonald's and I want Rory's.
I don't want frozen yogurt ever. Housekeeping. BXG Podcast publishes every Friday at 7 a.m. on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, and other podcast services around the globe. Official BXG social media accounts on Facebook.com/BXG Podcast, Instagram at BXG Podcasts, at GTFills, at Y2B. Twitter at BXG Podcast, at GT Filson, at Amazon FC Y2B. I made a change there for comedic purposes.
Nice.
YouTube.com/BXG Podcast. We did the Peep Show review.
A lot of good response from that. I've gotten a lot of people telling me how randomly I didn't even know listen to the show, like watch the Peep Show. It's great.
That watched it?
Yeah. They watched the Peep Show.
I'm going to call their bluff.
Really?
We didn't have as many. We had a lot, maybe. We had a ton of views on the Lady Gaga Oreos.
We did. Nobody said anything to me about that, really.
Which is crazy because that was the most.
Right.
Yeah.
It might have just been a bunch of random things. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. In any case. But that's where that is all the reviews that we do, which will include a review for a movie that we do tonight. We'll go up there. Social media scoreboard. John K leads with 3 points, EJT 1 point, Jared L 1 point. So John K picked up a point for correctly answering who won the Battle of the Titans, which we will discuss. We have no corrections or clarifications from last week. We have, as always, our 6-pack, a very special clip of the week that Greg doesn't know anything about, but it's going to be very special.
Came out of nowhere. I have no idea what's happening.
Oh, it's so special. It's so special.
All right, I'm excited.
I've never been more excited for literally anything on this show than this clip of the week. But we also have a guest tonight. WrestleMania is this weekend, so we brought in a friend of mine who is a bit of a wrestling savant. So we're going to bring him in here in a few minutes to kind of give us the rundown of that and kind of chop it up about old wrestlers and things like that. So we'll get into that a little bit. Okay, so this week is a big week in pop culture that maybe not a lot of people think about that is pop culture, but I definitely think it is pop culture because so many people who don't pay attention to wrestling all year always seem to pay attention to WrestleMania and some of the matches and things like that. So for this week, we've brought on a friend of mine, the host of the Petty Eddie podcast, a guy that I've known for a while, and I can vouch for his wrestling expertise. Eddie McDonald joins us tonight. Eddie, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
So we got some, we just, like I said, we got a few questions lined up, kind of do like a WrestleMania preview, that sort of thing. But, a couple other little fun activities for the wrestling fans out there.
So Eddie, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. I'm excited about WrestleMania. It's one of those things, like I used to be into wrestling a lot when I was younger, but I still pay attention to WrestleMania. And but we'll cut down to it at first. Tell us about the Petty Eddie podcast and when can we find you?
Oh yeah, so I started that about a year or so ago, and it's just where I talk about sports and wrestling. I mix them together, but I've had a guest with me every time, so I've interviewed someone or had a discussion about sports or wrestling or whatever. Pretty cool. I got to interview Rob Van Dam last year.
Yep.
Cool. Random experience on Twitter. Pretty cool guy. I got to do that. Then as of this recording, I know this where later this week he got inducted into WWE Hall of Fame, which is part of WrestleMania week. But yeah, you can find that anywhere you get your podcast: Apple, Google, Spotify. You can check it out on Anchor. You can check it out anywhere you get them. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Next week I'll be doing a review of a lot of the WrestleMania stuff this week. So yeah, anywhere you get your podcast.
Awesome. And I would add too, if people who follow or are friends with me on Facebook and such see me share your articles as well, because you write, you're also do some sports writing on the side as well, right?
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And Dog Pound Daily is I write about the Cleveland Browns. Usually 1 or 2 articles a week, depending on the week. At least 1 every week. I do that. I write for My Mind on Sports. I write about any topic of sports that I feel like writing about. But yeah, those are 2 places you can find me as well. and I appreciate you always sharing that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I'm not a Browns guy, but I like to rub it in Steeler fans' faces for sure. For sure. So WrestleMania, what number are we on?
We're at 37.
37. WrestleMania 37. God, that makes me feel old because I'm only a year younger than WrestleMania.
I was saying it makes me feel young because I'm a year
yeah.
younger. Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I remember the old days. But so what are the main events this year? Are there 2 main events? Now, when I texted you about this, you said that it was a 2-day thing.
That's correct.
It's a whole weekend now?
Well, last year was the pandemic, so they did not
Right.
have fans. That was supposed to be in Tampa, where it's at this year. So they made it a 2-night event because last year it was in front of nobody, literally nobody. It was in a warehouse. Their performance center turned into a warehouse. Instead of having a whole long 7-8 hour show with literally no reaction, they decided to split it in 2 nights. They went with that again this year. They weren't even sure if they were going to have fans until a couple months ago because of COVID. They have I want to say 45,000 fans are allowed in attendance.
Is it at Raymond James?
It is at Raymond James. That's correct. It was supposed to be there last year. Obviously, that did not happen. And this year they get to go back. They rewarded them for, missing out last year. Then they'll go to Dallas next year and Los Angeles the year after that. But yeah, Raymond James Stadium, where the Bucs just won the Super Bowl.
Right. So what are the main events this year?
So main events at WrestleMania, a lot of people take that a couple of different ways. The main event, usually when someone thinks that, is the main event, the last match on the show that closes. That's not always the case. WrestleMania normally has 3, 4, or 5, 6 main event matches. They might not get the last spot on the show. But this year, they have 2 main events, so 2 matches get to headline each night. And on Saturday night, they haven't confirmed yet which is going to close the show, but it should be Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair for the SmackDown Women's title. This is historical because it'll be the first time 2 black females have main evented WrestleMania. Last year was cool 2 years ago was cool with the women's first time ever main eventing. This time 2 black women. That's for the SmackDown Women's title. That's going to be a lot of fun. That should be the closer of the show and the true main event. But it could also go to Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley has the WWE title, got it for the first time in his 17-year career, left WWE, came back. Drew McIntyre did similar things. So that's going to be a big clash. Some people have that going on last. It's a fun little story that they've done, a lot of career trajectories. And then also, since this is pop culture, on Saturday night of WrestleMania, Bad Bunny will be in a match. And that's see, a lot of people laugh at that, or some people get excited about that. He recently came on. He appeared at the Royal Rumble, did a performance for a song called Booker T, and then Booker T was there, and it set up a feud with The Miz, who's also big into pop culture, even if you're not into wrestling.
Oh yeah, we're big on The Miz here.
The Miz and Mrs. is a great show. You don't even have to be into wrestling to like that show.
Right.
Yeah, so they matched up the 2, and it's a perfect alignment. Bad Bunny brings a lot of eyeballs to WWE product, and he's paired with The Miz. Well, it's actually a tag team match. It's Bad Bunny and Damian Priest, Miz and John Morrison. But Miz is one of the safest guys there is in WWE. He's going to make Bad Bunny look like $1 million. And what's cool is he moved down to Orlando to train at their facility for the past 2 months.
Oh, okay. So he's not taking this lightly.
No, he's not just in it for the cash. He stated before he's a big wrestling fan. He's taking this as serious as anyone can take it.
More seriously than Karl Malone back in the in the 90s, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Karl Malone.
You say he mailed it in?
Oh.
Hey,
oh. There it is.
Okay. Well,
I had to.
Well, it depends. Was the event on a Sunday? Because as Scottie Pippen said, they don't deliver mail on Sundays.
That's correct.
So that's something to keep in mind. So that's Saturday night. Who's on the top of the card on Sunday?
So Sunday night, the main event for sure is going to be Roman Reigns defending the Universal Championship against Daniel Bryan and Edge. Edge had won the Royal Rumble this year. Last year, he wrestled for the first time in however many years because he had a neck injury. Finally was able to get cleared. Wins the Rumble, so he got the main event spot. But then Daniel Bryan got himself inserted in the program, so they made it a triple threat match. And what's really cool about that match is, three big names. If you've watched wrestling back in the day, you're going to know who Edge is. If you've watched it more recently, you'll know Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. You also, some people will know that Roman Reigns is cousin of The Rock.
Right.
Johnson. So a lot of people will know who he is. But what's really cool about this is all three at one point had to step away from the ring to retire, or just step away, because it was first with Edge saying he had a neck injury, couldn't wrestle anymore. Daniel Bryan, concussions. And then Roman Reigns announced he had leukemia a couple years ago. And now they're all three back, and they're all three in the main event.
Yeah, I remember that with Roman Reigns, because that made like pretty mainstream news. I think that was on ESPN and everything. I know he's one of the more popular guys right now, so it's good to see him back in.
Especially he's a bad guy now, so he's a heel. So okay. I know a lot of people that probably listen to this don't watch wrestling, or if they do, they might not know what that means. But the heel is the bad guy, and he is finally a heel for the first time in his career. He was always what they call the baby face, the good guy, and everyone wanted him to turn. He didn't, and then finally he did.
We like to consider Greg the baby face and myself the heel around here. I think
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Okay, so that's one of them. Is there another big match on that card, or?
So Raw and SmackDown each have their own titles. So the Raw women, they'll have this spot that like the co-main event, and it'll be Asuka. She's been the champion for quite some time, but her run has not been very memorable. And then she'll take on Rhea Ripley, who is up from NXT, which NXT is their developmental brand, but it's their third brand that they have. It's just as big as the other two, Raw and SmackDown. So that's the women's match. It was supposed to be Charlotte Flair, but she is out. She had COVID for...
Oh, damn.
I don't know if she still has it. She did have it, but then she might have another injury or something. So Rhea Ripley stepped in, and that's the other big match for that.
So I remember more active with watching, and it's been a long time, but the women's wasn't really like a thing. You had like Lita and Trish Stratus, so I'm probably aging myself a little bit here, but just working some shifts with you, I should probably mention that's one of the ways that we know each other is from our former day job or night job. But seeing some of these women, I mean, they're incredible athletes. It's definitely a different brand than it used to be back in the day with some of those ladies. I think that they bring they definitely bring a bit more of an athletic flair. No pun intended on the Charlotte Flair thing, but they definitely hold their own, I think, as far as how impressive some of the things that they can do are. Are there any other big matches that you are personally excited for that aren't necessarily the headline matches?
Before that, speaking of the women, they've come a long way, and it started like, I want to say 5 or 6 years ago now. There was a hashtag Give Divas a Chance, because they were getting like 30-second matches and minute and a half matches, and on a 3-hour program, and they finally were getting chances a little bit more. They've done a lot of first time ever women's style matches. They had a Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber. They main evented WrestleMania 2 years ago. Women are gonna main event again. They're getting more opportunities, and as they should. And I think it's just a thing with today's athletes in general, not just wrestlers. They're just a different breed than what they were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Sure.
And a lot of them are really good. A lot of them are just as good as the men on the roster. Doesn't matter who it is. They're some of the best. So that's great that that's finally happening. There's a few other matches that I'm looking forward to. There is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and they have been like real life best friends for the better part of the past 20 years. They used to be on the independent scenes together. They'd be, your local high schools, your local bingo halls, wherever, there was some sort of wrestling event, they'd be wrestling. And a lot of times they'd wrestle each other. Their dream was to get here to WWE. They got it, and now they have a match at WrestleMania, the biggest show ever.
That's pretty cool.
And that is cool. And they both talked about how exciting that is. That and in more pop culture, Sami Zayn just had Logan Paul on SmackDown for he's doing this documentary angle where he's making a documentary on conspiracy, and that was a pretty big name to have.
Is Logan Paul the one that knocked Nate Robinson out, or is he the one that's going to get knocked out by Floyd Mayweather?
That I'm not actually sure.
Same person.
Is it the same? I thought they were brothers. I thought it was two brothers.
Yeah, but I think they're the same. Like I think Logan Paul's the guy that's at boxing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, they both box.
Yeah. But I mean, I think he's the one that's doing all like the major.
He's doing.
Someone fights Ben Askren. One of them fights Ben Askren soon. I know that.
I
think
one
it's
of them
it's not Logan Paul. It's lesser Paul. Jake Paul. Yeah, I think it's Jake Paul.
Well, whichever one is going to be. I mean, Floyd Mayweather's 50, and he's going to be the TikTok star or whatever these guys are, YouTube guys. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
He actually might be involved in that Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match as either a special referee or a special enforcer. So that's more eyes, fans of his. I think that he had, I forget, 28 million or something Twitter followers alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just great business. And WrestleMania, year in and year out, since WrestleMania 1, has been a spectacle for celebrities, not just the wrestling, but there's celebrities all over. Mr. T had headline WrestleMania 1. Floyd Mayweather, speaking of him, he had a WrestleMania match. Snooki, I'm sure you're a big fan of her.
Donald Trump at one point.
Yes, the former president of the United States, sadly was on there. This was before he became what he was, but I don't like talking about it.
This was when he was still like kind of the cool guy from like Home Alone.
Yeah, the Donald.
As I recall. But yeah, that's neither here nor there. So what are my boys the New Day up to? Are they going to be involved somewhere?
Yes, so the New Day is split. If you didn't know that, it's only
I didn't know that.
Xavier Woods, and then Big E is on SmackDown by himself as the Intercontinental Champion, and they all three have prominent matches. Big E has. I know that you're a big Big E fan.
I'm more of an Xavier Woods.
Okay,
fan.
Plays the trombone.
Yeah. He also plays a mean Mario Kart.
Yeah, he sure does. He has a great gaming channel, Up, Up, Down, Down.
Yep, Up, Down, Down. Yep.
He's going to be one of the hosts on the new G4.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, one of the hosts of one of the shows. I think that's later this year, maybe next year.
I don't think it'll last. It's not going to last, so I'm not holding my breath on it. Well, there's a reason the first one got canceled.
Xavier Woods is going to make it work regardless, no matter if
it's maybe. Sure.
2 months, 3 months, 2 years, 10 years, however long. But he's in a match. He's tagging with Kofi Kingston. They have the Raw Tag Team titles. They're defending against AJ Styles and his bodyguard Almost, who's just this big dude that just hasn't wrestled yet. This is his first match ever. So it should be good to see what he can do. But that's their featured match. And then Big E has a match against Apollo Crews, who just turned into a bad guy. And he went back to his independent scene gimmick. It's like I forget what it's called, but you'd have to see it. I can't explain it right now. But they fight for the Intercontinental title, so that should be a good one. There's not really a bad match per se on either card, but the Zayn and Owens one outside of the main events is what I'm looking forward to. And the New Day ones are going to be fun too.
So the Zayn and Owens thing, would you consider those guys kind of like up and comers? Is there anybody else that maybe a lot of people haven't heard of? Because like I don't really follow things very closely anymore, but I know who AJ Styles and The Miz and Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins and some of these guys are. Is there anybody else that's out there that could come in? And I'm not talking about like Rock or Cena level, but kind of ascend to sort of a place where they kind of transcend just being a wrestler and become more of a pop culture figure.
Yeah. So you asked about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn first. They're not up and comers per se. I mean, if you're a true diehard wrestling fan, you would have known them as their previous names is El Generico and Kevin Steen. It's Kevin Owens and all sorts of different promotions. But they've been on what they call the main roster, Raw and SmackDown, for 4, 5, 6 years now as well.
Oh, okay.
So they're not really up and comers. But NXT, as I talked about earlier, that's like their developmental. That's where you'll see a lot of guys that you won't necessarily know until they make it to Raw or SmackDown.
Okay.
And that's, you keep up with it. There's a lot of guys in there. There's Finn Balor. He's been on the main roster. He's been in NXT before. He's currently the NXT champion. Defends the title this week. And they have an event every WrestleMania too. So I was just telling a friend of mine, if you watch something this week, like if you don't watch WrestleMania, or if you only check out a little bit, check out some of NXT TakeOver. When this airs, it'll already been 2 days. It's also a 2-day event, but there's a lot of people in there that are pretty darn good that are going to be household names, just like the names you just mentioned. There's Karrion Kross, who fights Finn Balor. There's a women's champion named Io Shirai. Johnny Gargano is in there. Isaiah Swerve Scott, who his co-host of his podcast, it's on the WWE Network /Peacock. He does the theme song for my podcast, His name's TZ, but Swerve's on. There's just so many people that are up and coming down there.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
and some of these people might have been wrestling for 10, 15, 20 years and finally getting to WWE and going through like their minor league system.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's always interesting, when you see somebody like you said at a high school. I remember going to a house show for I couldn't even remember, but it was at Rocky Grove High School when I was like 10 or 11. Seeing some of these guys, and then you see them kind of pop up later, either in at the time it was either WWE or WCW.
Yeah, and shout out Rocky Grove. That's where I graduated.
Right.
Shout out them. So yeah, they've had a few shows there, but yeah, you those shows and like their shows up in Meadville every year.
You get the Night of Legends a lot with at those places, like the old guys.
Yeah, they did one of those at Rocky Grove one year. I got to meet some of the wrestlers backstage. It was pretty cool. A few years ago, I met the Hardy Boys up there, and then I also got to interview some people because of connections I have. But yeah, you might see some of these like older names, and like someone who's even well older than us, like my grandparents' age, might remember someone like the Honky Tonk Man, or insert random legend that you can think of.
Hey man, the Honky Tonk Man is my era. When I was young.
I hope you hated him.
No, of course. Of course. Speaking of that,
so I think now we've talked about the present and now going to the past, which is fun. More of kind of where I was at with WrestleMania and stuff. What are some of your favorite historical WrestleMania matches? And I don't want to just stick to matches, moments too, because I feel like the moments sometimes were like really key when I was younger.
Oh yeah, for sure. So Brenton sent me the rundown of this yesterday when I was at work, and I was jotting down things off the top of my head. First and foremost, Kofi Kingston, Daniel Bryan, WrestleMania 35 2 years ago. I got to go to that thanks to Brenton, who let me work a bunch of hours because we were down to staff. So I worked 2.5 months straight to afford WrestleMania. Got to see Kofi Kingston beat Daniel Bryan. He became the first black champion in WWE history. The WWE champion, I should say, as The Rock isn't fully black, and others have won the World Heavyweight title. So that was a great moment. They dubbed it Kofi Mania. And the whole weekend, you can feel the energy, and everyone wanted Kofi to win, and he did. When that final 3 count hit, the guy that I sat next to, and I've never hugged someone harder in my entire life.
That's awesome.
And then later that night, it was the first women's main event. Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch. They fought for the women's title. History in the making. It was a great match. It was cool being there for especially those two, but at my first WrestleMania. A few years ago, there was a moment where Roman Reigns was fighting Brock Lesnar for the title, and towards the end of the match, Seth Rollins came down and cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, won the title, and they called it the heist of the century because he essentially stole it. A year before that, one of my favorite WrestleMania moments, maybe my favorite ever, probably is outside of Kofi and Bryan, is Brock Lesnar ending the Undertaker's undefeated streak, which the streak you guys can probably, relate with a little bit because it's been a WrestleMania.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I remember when they brought him out. Like I remember when the Undertaker first popped up. Everybody remembers Paul Bearer being his manager, but it was actually Brother Love at the beginning.
That is awesome that you know that, because that's very true, and that's just awesome that you know that. I'm very happy right now. Yeah, so
I'll give you my 2 favorite WrestleMania moments, and this is going to date me. Ricky Steamboat and Randy Savage is probably my favorite. Yep, and that was better than the headliner, because the headline, well, it was a better technical match, right? Because they actually 2 guys that could actually wrestle. Correct. The headliner was Andre and Hogan, and everybody wanted to see that matchup. Everybody wanted to see Hogan slam Andre, and stories have been told in a much better fashion than I could ever. I mean, hell, full documentaries have been made about that match, right? But then the second would also be WrestleMania 4 when the titles were vacant and they did the tournament. Yeah. And Randy Savage beat Ted DiBiase in the final match. Those are my two favorite. I had WrestleMania 4 on VHS. I think I watched that until I broke it when I was a kid.
That sounds right. Back in the day, it was all about tapes.
It was a double tape. Yeah, it was a double tape.
Yeah, there's so many moments to even think of. Like Shawn Michaels, Undertaker had the greatest WrestleMania match ever at WrestleMania 25. A year later, Shawn Michaels put his career on the line and lost, and that's when he retired. That was a great moment. 2 years prior at WrestleMania 24, Shawn Michaels retired Ric Flair. Well, at least from WWE, he went on to wrestle elsewhere. But that was a great moment. I don't know if did either of you guys watch that?
No,
Nah.
I'll be honest. The last WrestleMania that I watched was, I think, 30.
Okay. So this was 6 years, prior to 30, but it was. You might have seen the clip where he looks at Ric Flair before he super kicks him and he mouths, "I'm sorry, I love you."
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, so I probably sent it to you actually.
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah, I've seen that.
So that was a great
Shawn
moment.
Michaels and Razor Ramon at WrestleMania, the ladder match.
Yes, the first time they fought in the ladder match.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
It's a classic too.
The classic image of Shawn Michaels jumping off the top of the ladder and splashing him.
Mm-hmm. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels has a lot of WrestleMania moments. He's called Mr. WrestleMania. One of the best moments ever is the Rock and Hulk Hogan. They had a match at WrestleMania 18.
Was that 19?
18, yep, up in Toronto. And for 5 minutes after the bell rang, they just stood and stared at each other, and the crowd was going nuts. Absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
We will never see something like that again, probably.
No, those are just two guys that have the crowd eaten out of their hand, in a way like nobody else could.
Absolutely, and it's incredible to watch. And another historical moment is Stone Cold Steve Austin and Bret Hart at WrestleMania 13 and the I Quit match.
Was that the screw job?
No, that was in Montreal in '97.
Yeah,
when Bret Hart left the company and
went to
WCW, which is my favorite wrestling moment ever, by the way. And
you're not a big Bret Hart guy.
Nope, I'm a Shawn Michaels guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they did have a rivalry, so that makes sense.
Yeah. You're either one side or the other. And usually when I talk wrestling on my podcast, I ask, are you a Bret guy or a Shawn guy?
Right.
I like that.
I don't know if I have an answer for that.
I'm a Shawn guy. I was a Shawn guy.
I love
it. I think
the first wrestler I loved was like Hulk Hogan. And then there's something about Shawn Michaels that everything he did, I was like, oh, okay, that's my guy. Yep.
And I said this on, and it didn't make the final cut because I think he edited it out. But I said this on another podcast that the biggest letdown of my life was to find out that Hulk Hogan was horribly racist.
Yeah,
because that guy, when I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, when you had all these other athletes like blowing coke off strippers' asses, and then you have Hulk Hogan saying, take vitamins, say your prayers, and train. I mean, that guy he was a role model. And then you find out, years later, like, maybe he wasn't such a great guy after all. That was a huge letdown, crushed my childhood.
You and a lot of others. And he transcended wrestling. He made wrestling what we know it is today.
Yeah. Yep.
And, you have to give him that. After that, nothing.
Separate the art from the artist, I always say.
Right. Even Seth Rollins was just asked recently for, this week, I think it was yesterday or today, who was Mount Rushmore of WWE was. And he put like Cena and Austin and Hogan and San Martino. And then he said that if you're talking just the contributions to wrestling, you have to put Hulk Hogan in there.
Right.
Which I get. But he's like, that doesn't make him a good person, though.
Right.
But what's crazy is Hulk Hogan's still relevant. And he's going to be the host of WrestleMania, the co-host of WrestleMania.
So speaking of Hulk Hogan, we can kind of transition here into our last question. Any two wrestlers from any generation, any type of match, who would it be?
Oh, see, I was thinking about this since I saw this on the rundown you sent me. The first one that comes to mind is Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles. I'd put them in a ladder match probably. If it wasn't just a regular match, a ladder match. Two of my three favorites ever, with Stone Cold being sandwiched in between them. But yeah, Styles is one of the best ever. So is Shawn Michaels, and AJ Styles got to WWE a few years too late. And another one I would have is Stone Cold Steve Austin, Brock Lesnar. Never got to see that. It was supposed to happen, and that's what ultimately led to Stone Cold quitting the company.
That it didn't happen?
Yes, or no, it was supposed to happen as a King of the Ring qualifying match. Austin didn't like it because there was no build up to it.
Okay.
For people to get invested in, so he took his ball and went home, and he never wrestled again.
Yeah. Well, he's got what? Bad neck, bad knees, bad everything.
Yeah, he had a bad neck. He did break his neck in the ring one time, and then had bad knees. But and then Austin versus CM Punk, because they were very similar.
Right.
And they were the anti-hero.
Sure.
That was beloved by everyone. But yeah, those are the matches: AJ Styles, Shawn Michaels, and Stone Cold Brock Lesnar, Stone Cold CM Punk.
I think the thing that I'd like to see is young Randy Savage, like before he got all like roided out of his mind in WCW and was like huge. Like, I mean, when he was still mobile.
Like
You know what
Macho
I
Man?
mean?
Yeah, Macho
Like,
Man.
Yeah, like Macho Man. Yeah, like straight up Macho Man Randy Savage.
Slim Jim.
Well, he was still getting kind of bulky then. I'm talking about when he was wrestling Steamboat in WrestleMania 3, and he was one of the first high flyers. You know what I mean? And I think it came from his baseball background that he just had that athletic build. I'd like to see him against, because the thing too about Macho Man is this is like wrestling is so much about, yes, you have to be athletic, you have to be able to do the moves, etc. But you have guys like Dean Malenko who has no personality, and that's why he never made it, even though he was one of the most technically sound wrestlers out there. You have to be able to, I mean, hell, even Hulk Hogan, great on the mic. He could do like 5 moves. You know what I mean? Macho Man's promos were so insane.
Macho Man, yeah, he was definitely doing coke back then, which most every other wrestler probably was as well. But
right,
yeah, his coke fused promos were brilliant. But Hogan, we all say he can't wrestle, which he can't. If he actually had some good matches in Japan.
In Japan, yeah, I've seen those. I've actually seen those on YouTube.
But
he throws some real moves. It's crazy. It's weird to see because he's so big. Like I think people don't understand how actually big Hulk Hogan, is whatever. Because he's like 6'6" or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, he's a big guy. So to see him actually do some of those moves, I remember seeing him do like grapple somebody up in an armbar and do like a side takedown or whatever. I was like, where the hell was this for the last 30 years?
Yeah, it's incredible, even though he's a piece of crap. So I try and erase him. Earlier tonight, before this recording, I was watching the Hall of Fame, and the NWO got inducted. As soon as he came on, I turned it off until.
Oh wow!
I just wasn't.
How was Scott Hall looking?
He looked fine, I guess, for Scott Hall.
For Scott Hall.
For Scott Hall, it's very relative.
And yeah, he was coherent. He didn't look terrible. So you can't really ask for much because he was in some bad health scares for.
I used to be a big Razor guy, but anyway, Eddie, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you coming in and schooling us on WrestleMania and everything that's going down and some of the guys to look forward to. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Eddie, I just want to say your knowledge, amazing. I loved it. You just being like, oh no, it was this, this, and this. I thought that was incredible. I really appreciate your knowledge and coming on.
I appreciate that. And, wrestling is one of my passions in life. So a lot of this just happens over and over and over. And, they've had the WWE Network. I've watched a lot of that. I moved to Peacock. I still watch it. So I like to think of myself as an encyclopedia of sorts sometimes. But yeah, I appreciate being able to come on. Oh, and I love the Peeps review. That was last week, I think.
Peep show.
The Peep show.
Yeah, I would not want to try the hot tamale one, and then even further after your review.
Yeah,
sounds good.
That was not great.
Before I get out, Brenton Jar Jar Binks is the greatest Star Wars character ever. There we go.
It was a great show tonight. All right, man. We appreciate you coming on. And take care. Yep.
So thanks, Freddie, for coming on. Very knowledgeable. That was a lot of fun. I really appreciate him coming on. I think we both do, obviously. So we're going to move on to Brenton and Greg at the movies at home. Which you can go to the movies now. We're choosing not to because, we're still in a pandemic. But anyhow, here we go. Godzilla versus Kong. I think the best way to go with this is we want to know how we got here. Because, wow, we got the 2 biggest monsters in the universe fighting each other. How did we get here? Godzilla vs. Kong is the 4th film in the MonsterVerse, following 2014's Godzilla, 2017's Kong Skull Island, and 2019's Godzilla King of the Monsters. The film was originally slated for a 2020 release, but was pushed back to the 2021 due to the pandemic. The film crushed Wonder Woman 84 for best box office premiere in the pandemic era with a worldwide box office of $102.2 million. The film also came directly to HBO Max day one. It currently sits at certified fresh 75% critical score on Rotten Tomatoes and a 93% fan response.
So I never saw 2014 Godzilla.
Yeah.
And I'm basing that it's not necessary.
It's not necessary. I've seen it. I saw it. I think I saw it when I lived pre-moving to Alaska. I think I just watched it randomly one night while just drinking some beers.
I mean, at this point,
fine.
I might go back. Yeah, I might go back and check it out just because at this point. Mm-hmm. but I don't think that there's.
You're not missing anything.
I went
when
and
we
read
get to
on,
my
like,
actual thoughts on this, you'll know why I don't think we're missing anything. But yeah.
102.2 million worldwide at the box office, pandemic era record. As you said, people can go to the movies now. Most people are still continuing to choose not to. It did 43-ish million domestically here in the U.S. and it went bonkers in China. A lot of people in China saw this in theaters over there, but 1.2 million is like, it's crazy to think like that's a pandemic record, but that's like Avengers Endgame did that in like 20 minutes.
True, and it makes you wonder how it translates. Like, there's probably no way to actually translate. I mean, I'm sure somebody can do it. I'm sure there's somebody out there, but like, well, this translated to 450 million if this was an actual regular weekend or something.
Well, and I'm sure that they'll correlate with how many people streamed it via, HBO Max, which is how we both chose to watch.
So
let's get into the actual.
Let's get into the plot. Let's get into the actual movie. So Godzilla's hurting people. We don't know why, or so Kyle Chandler informs us. As Godzilla rampages, King Kong is living in a Truman Show setup on Skull Island, where the great ape has outgrown his home. Apex baddie Walter Simmons unleashes the plot to have Kong lead them to a power source in Hollow Earth, led by scientists Eileen Andrews and Nathan Lynn, played by Rebecca Hall and Alexander Skarsgård. So many Skarsgård. And joined by Simmons' daughter, Maya Simmons, played by Isa Gonzalez. The giant Kaiju tussle in the ocean as Kong is transported via boat, with Godzilla taking round one. Meanwhile, there is a half-baked story arc about Madison Russell, Millie Bobby Brown, and Apex employee Bernie Hayes, Brian Tyree Henry, trying to rename people.
Paperboy.
Jeez, Liz. Anyhow, trying to uncover what happened to good old-fashioned two-name people, Brenton. Anyhow, trying to uncover what is driving Godzilla mad. Kong leads Apex to Hollow Earth and uncovers the power source they are looking for as Godzilla attacks Hong Kong, where the super sleuths uncover Apex, using a severed Ghidorah skull, having created Mecha Godzilla. Before they can get the mechanical beast up and running, Godzilla and Kong tussle again, of course, because that's the movie. And this time, Kong takes round two in the night fight. However, as sunrise, Godzilla rebounds and scores a knockout blow.
He's not a outfielder. Stop calling him Gonzalez.
I'm sorry, Godzilla. It's just weird reading this and then also thinking about this movie to me. I'm sorry. No Time to Celebrate the Win, however, as Mecha Godzilla is released, and it's baseball season, and immediately starts handing it to the Lizard King. Dr. Lin uses his fancy Apex helicopter as an emergency defibrillator and revives the eighth wonder of the world, just in time for the mighty gorilla to save Godzilla. Help him destroy Mecha Godzilla and the world. And the end sees Kong relocate to Hollow Earth as the Titans acknowledge each other with a grudging respect. Okay. I fucking hated this movie, Brenton.
What?
This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I'm so happy I wasn't one of the $102.2 million. I hated this movie.
You're high.
It sucked because there was too much of them just not fighting. It's our Tom and Jerry thing, only at least they tried it. There was nothing in between. I hated the in between so much. We're watching this, and I'm telling you, I wanted to just fast forward to them just fighting. I want the cut of the fighting cut. Release the fighting cut, because I hated everything. Every time they talk, I cannot stand Millie Bobby Brown unless she's in Stranger Things, because that's all she is Stranger Things Millie Bobby Brown. I hated all their jokes. I thought they all fell terribly flat. It's just, Kyle Chandler's a good actor, and he's garbage, and everybody's garbage in this movie except for the monsters. I hated it. It drug on. You're just like, just get me to the fights. I don't need a plot line. Literally do not need a plot line. Say like, they're mad at each other. Let's fight. That's all I care about. This is what this movie should have been. I hated it. It's 75% is garbage. I saw Rolling Stone gave it 1.5 stars. Thank God somebody was on my level, because they're like, we all suffer except for the box office. Amen. I hated this movie. I will try to watch it where I just do my cut of watching them fight, because this is like, these movies, most of the time movies like this understand it, like we don't really need to have a plot, but then this movie's like, no, let's plot. Let's get some plot into this. No, none of that. Hated it. Hated this movie. Couldn't wait for it to end. Hated how they had a truce. Unbelievably terrible. I like the fight scenes. Don't get me wrong. Love Mechagodzilla getting his head ripped off. All this was great to me. But the
like
actual
half the movie.
It isn't half the movie. It's like 30 minutes of the movie. Most of it is them
It's only an hour and a half long.
That's right. So an hour of the movie is people talking, which I do not give a shit about in these movies. Literally hate, like, just give me fighting. I want to just see, we're watching, I'm like, can we fight? Can we just have them fight? Because I don't want to hear people talk anymore. I really don't. And I hated it. I'm sad to say it because I thought I was going to be stoked on it. Like, their first fight got me so pumped. And I'm like, here we go. And then there's like a 25-minute scene of people talking about shit that I didn't care about. I'm like, this doesn't mean anything. And you know it doesn't mean anything. Director, writer, producers of these movies. Why are we doing this? Yeah, I'm sorry. But I'm not sorry. This movie sucked.
All right.
You feel differently, I guess.
Well, I guess part of it for me is just having realistic expectations of what I was going to get out of this. I wasn't expecting, like, I knew that there was going to be some as I put in the summary,
right,
some half-baked story that didn't need to be there. But that they can't make just that. They can't make a half an hour movie of these things just beating up on each other.
They easily could. And people, it would have.
They can't.
They
no.
could. All the old Godzilla movies are basically.
Those were guys in suits.
I understand that, but they were just like ridiculous plot. Nothing's happening, and then just fighting all the time, constantly. They could have easily done this with nobody. Nobody would have cared if this movie is just like 5 minutes of plot, 25 minutes of them fighting, 5 minutes of plot, more fighting, like.
I wonder how much time of it was actually like screen time of them fighting.
Oh,
I'm gonna see if that's a thing. I'm gonna see if I can Google it. How long?
A lot of this probably is too. Is like I had this problem with Millie Bobby Brown.
Yeah, what's up with that?
She can't act. Is my biggest problem with her. She has one thing. Maybe she does it well, but
look like she's crying.
Look like she's crying constantly. Honestly, you could be like Millie Bobby Brown. You're gonna be rich, and she's just like looks sad, crying all the time. Sad crying, no matter what. She spills the drink over a thing to like stop Mechagodzilla. It's like, oh my god, we're trying so hard. She's in Stranger Things. She doesn't need to be like, she's in one of the best shows. We don't need to try harder to make her something.
Okay. Let's try to actually break this down.
All right, yeah, let's try to break this down.
Rather than just you're doing the Stephen A. Smith thing a little bit here.
Am I?
Rein it in.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I just really hated this movie. I don't hate movies that often. This is the thing. You're always shocked if you're shocked because you weren't ready for me to hate this movie.
I wasn't ready for us to so divergently disagree. Right. Because like, listen. I've thought about watching this again, actually. I think that like I said, it's all about having realistic expectations. You know, I
liked the other movies. That was my thing. I liked the other movies fine, so I think my expectations were.
Well, how did you like Godzilla more than this when Millie Bobby Brown was a more central character in that?
Because there was the fighting.
If that's one of your hang-ups.
The fighting was...
The fighting wasn't as good.
The fighting wasn't as good, but it was more prevalent.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. It felt like it was more prevalent. I
think it was the same amount.
I don't know.
I think it was the same amount, but here's the thing was that I feel like they showed too much in the trailers
that might be it.
Of the ocean fight.
Yeah.
Of the ocean fight specifically.
Yeah.
We basically saw all that already.
Right.
Through various trailers. And that's one of the things that I don't like about movie trailers. And we talked about with the Snyder Cut how every character had their own movie trailer. I thought, this is tangential, but I thought the most badass thing that Marvel could have done, and they did not do it, was with Avengers Endgame, the trailer be just a title splash screen and then don't show anything else.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
What do we need to get hyped for?
Right.
We're already hyped.
I'm still hyped about it, to be honest.
So there's no, like, and they do this all the time with these movies where they show us way too much in the trailers. I feel like that kind of hurt the ocean fight a little bit because we basically saw it all. You know what I mean? So I think that hurt. And maybe if you go into it fresh, not having seen basically one of the two big fights in the movie, because there were some other little things like Godzilla or King Kong fought some whatever down in Hollow Earth or this or that. It wasn't a ton, obviously. I'm right there with you that the human characters were pointless. You know, they try to force this. Somewhere I saw online that Walter Simmons, they were like, oh, Walter Simmons was such a great bad guy. It's like, no.
What?
Charles Dance, where was he at? Wearing turtlenecks. Somewhere else wearing a turtleneck.
And none of this.
You know? So, and the whole Millie Bobby Brown and Brian Tyree Henry, that is a lot of names.
6 names, 2 people. That's insane.
Their storyline was unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that I think the story was in the right place as far as there can only be one Alpha Titan. Okay, well, let's let them sort it out. You know what I mean? We didn't necessarily need all this other stuff, but they kind of needed like a way to introduce Mechagodzilla that made sense.
I think what I would have liked is maybe like you're making Mechagodzilla and you're having him fight other things that you like sort of like lesser, just to get more fighting into it or something. I think.
Well, he fought the Skullcrawler.
Yeah,
I mean, didn't really fight him.
Yeah, they didn't really fight him though. I just feel like this is the trailer thing. Is the trailer was just all fighting.
Right.
You know, which I get it because you're trying to that's why I got so pumped. I'm like, oh, is this movie just gonna be them fighting the entire time?
Right.
And like, you know, I understand that you want to have a plot to like move things along, especially since this is the monster verse and you know they want to keep this going. But that's like, I think this is the thing with Marvel is like, which we always go back to. Sorry, everyone, but Marvel has a thing where like you get a little plot and then, you know what, 5-7 minutes comes along and they're like, you know what we need to do? A little fight scene. Give us a little action, and they do that really well. And they also, the biggest thing with Marvel
they pace things well.
The biggest thing that Marvel
about
does
pacing.
is they're really good at pacing, and they also know how to interject humor, that perfect amount. It's never too much. This is the movie where everything seemed too forced to me. I think that's maybe the biggest difference between that and the last movie. It was just like this seems so forced because they're like, oh, we have these two really cool iconic characters, and nobody will disagree. But we're trying to force all this other stuff in, and I just didn't like the forcing. It's like you already have two characters that everyone loves. Everyone is in on this movie, obviously, the money and the streams. But I think they try to do too much with something that you didn't need to. This wasn't two characters no one's ever heard of. This is two big characters, and I think that was my biggest... I think that's actually why I hate it so much, is like, you already have really cool characters. It's Batman, Superman. You know what I mean? Like, this is really what it is. You know, when you're trying to do too much, it's whatever. And I'm disappointed. I mean, this doesn't change what I feel like going forward, because I think they can amend this, but...
I think they catered to an American audience by making Kong the sort of sympathetic character.
Right.
But at the same time, I think we can all agree that Godzilla won.
Yeah.
I mean, if it was a 3-round fight, he left him on the mat.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I was keeping score at home.
He gave him the standing 8 count.
Or even if you're alone.
Right. I mean, he left him on the mat, and they had to revive him. I'm pretty sure that counts as Godzilla winning.
Yeah, Godzilla.
But they did make Kong the more sympathetic character, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Because as a primate, he can emote a little bit.
Yeah.
And I think you saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you saw that at times, and that was maybe all I really needed. As far as the storyline goes, it's sort of yeah, Congo. You remember that movie?
Yeah, I do. I watched it like 2 years ago for some reason. I don't remember why. That movie's wild.
You have my deepest sympathies. That's a Michael Crichton thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, you kind of had like I dug the story of King Kong and the little girl a little bit.
Yeah, that was okay.
But that was probably all I really needed.
Right.
As far as, because it's almost like they try to make Madison, the Madison character, like the counterpoint to that. Like she's sort of the sympathetic character with Godzilla. But I almost feel like and I said this when we did King of the Monsters, I just think Godzilla's corny. You know what I mean? I just think that he's not that cool. Like, I wanted to see King Kong kick his ass, like, repeatedly. And so I was a little bit bummed that they made Godzilla the winner. And they kind of like, it was almost like, oh, we're going to revive King Kong and then they can't beat Mechagodzilla without each other. So we're going to give everybody a participation trophy. Because the director was like, well, there's a clear winner. There's a clear loser. One will rise. One will fall. Well, it's like, if that's the case, kill one of them. You know what I mean?
Imagine if they did.
Like,
I mean,
if you want to make if you want to take a risk, kill one of them.
they killed Tony Stark. Spoiler alert. They killed. They killed. Well, they didn't kill Cap, but they got rid of Cap. Yeah, I mean, there's.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's
Superman died.
Superman died.
Superman died.
He dies. I don't know. It bummed me out. I think it was just mostly, I was just so bummed out because I thought we were going to get way more of them fighting.
The fight scenes were awesome.
The fight scenes were
and
awesome.
So
but
I think I think you have to be able to, and I see what you're saying, that there was too much plot. And the plot was completely just
if the
half-baked,
plot was
unnecessary.
like okay, but the plot didn't even make any sense to me a lot of times too. Like they just were saying things to say things, and that bummed me out. The Skarsgård character just blindly going along. Like these guys, like this is the thing about movies like this. It's like these guys are clearly evil, right?
And you're just down for the get down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And it's, I don't know.
I think we're on the same page. It's just that I wanted a more like Marvel approach to something, and you were like,
sure,
you know. I just when the movies are out there that you can use a template of, I expect you to use it if you're a smart director / writer / producer.
I'm just kind of like, for the expectations for me, for what this was, for what I expected it to be, I'm just kind of more willing to look past some of the flaws. I think it's for me, and I know we don't do numbers, but it's a solid C+. It's a solid 7. You know what I mean? It's not anything special. It's not anything special.
No.
I liked it more than Kong Skull Island. I will say that. But the thing about Kong Skull Island that this movie didn't have is, like you said, about like the humor and the forced humor and things of that nature, would have been that Kong Skull Island had John C. Reilly, who's like actually funny.
Right.
And like his scenes where he was just like injecting this almost like he's to the point where he's basically lost his mind.
Yeah.
And like that's how he's coming across, but he carries that character type well. Whereas Brian Tyree Henry, who's probably most well known for being Paperboy in Atlanta, the FX show, I know that he's got comedic chops, but I don't know that like playing the paranoid podcaster is exactly the character that is going to bring that out.
Right. Yeah, a lot of people are kind of crapping on that whole thing, which I agree with.
So it's a watch for me if you can kind of sideline any expectations that you're going to get a coherent narrative plot line. It's just for me, it's just worth it for the fights.
To me, it's worth it for the fights. It's a watch if you just want to scroll. I'll tell you right now, just fast forward the plot and watch the fights because the fights are cool, but don't watch the whole movie. It's a pass if you want to watch the whole movie. It's a watch for the fights because the fights are cool, but you know, I'm still not nervous about where they're going. They'll figure something out. But I'm not.
So that's kind of the next thing is where do we go from here? There were no end credit scenes, whereas Kong Skull Island and King of the Monsters both had some forward reveals. And this was the last confirmed movie of the MonsterVerse. Legendary Pictures is not too happy with Warner Bros.' decision to push the film to HBO Max. So if we are to see these two on screen together again, it will take some mending of fences. There is a rich history and plenty of adversaries in the universe to explore. So hopefully a deal can get done, as it would seem like a good idea to get these two together on screen more than once every 50 years.
Yeah, of course it would be. They should be on screen all the time. They should have a buddy cop
I don't know about
movie.
all the time. Number 3. Yeah, I don't know. I think if this does, obviously it did good pandemic numbers. I think it'll be interesting to see what the stream numbers are, but I think that this is going to be one of those things where money talks, and it's not going to be as difficult to make another MonsterVerse movie as it is to make another Snyderverse movie,
Right.
which is worth, kind of considering. So I do think that we will see something in this lineup sooner rather than later.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I would say within the next 3 years, we'll know of something.
We'll know about something in the next 3 years. I don't know if we'll see something.
Right,
in the
we'll
next 3
know
years, but
something.
we'll definitely know if something is afoot. So anyway, that's been a Brent and Greg at the movies at home, even though you can go to the movies, but we're staying at home review of Godzilla versus Kong. It's a watch for me. It's a pass for Greg.
That's right.
Number 3, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the Power Broker. This episode sees Sam and Bucky spring Baron Helmut Zemo, from his prison. We find out that Zemo has the same superpower as Batman. He's rich. Zemo takes the duo to Madripoor. I'm Ron Burgundy. Where they go James Bond style into a seedy criminal lair to find information relating to the super soldier serum. The whole thing goes sideways as the newly formed trio wind up in a shootout and are saved by Sharon Carter. We learn that while everybody else seemed to have gotten a pardon for their dirty deeds done dirt cheap, she on the other hand is living out her life as a black market art dealer and in this rogue nation. She has a party that night to gain some information as to where these gentlemen can find the super serum. At the party, we learn that A, Baron Zemo can seriously cut a rug, and that B, a scientist is producing super soldier serum from data garnered from Isaiah's blood at the behest of the mysterious Power Broker. Carly Morgenthau, a.k.a. Delonte Westgirl, and her flag smasher stole the only 20 doses. After a confrontation in a shipping container where the lab is located, the team winds up in another shootout. Sam and Bucky and the Good Baron get away, but Sharon decides to stay behind and is picked up by a driver, in which she tells the driver that they have big problems, actually a couple of them. As this is occurring, we see John Walker and Bernard Hopkins, that's not his name, Lamar Hopkins, learn that Sam and Bucky were at the same prison the same day as Zemo's escape and begin to make clandestine theories. Sam uses his military connect of Torres to track down the flag smashers, and the trio is off to investigate. Sam and Zemo enter the building, but Bucky decides to take a walk as something is amiss. He winds up in an alley, and he's being confronted by one of the Royal Wakandan Guards, which is by far the biggest curveball thrown of the season. I would say that it's the biggest curveball thrown of either of these shows so far. I was not expecting this.
I love this show so much. I am so down, as we've said over time with this, is The Winter Soldier is my favorite movie, and this show is just like, let's make The Winter Soldier a TV show. Spy. I love spy thrillers. I mean, this is just where I'm at. I'm a karate guy. I love stuff like this. This show is so much that, because Bucky has superpowers, but nobody else really does.
Yeah, he's super soldier.
He's a super soldier, but nobody else has crazy superpowers or anything. So it's all like you just have to think on your feet. And this show is so cool. I love watching it. The plot is just so intertwined. It's so sneaky, and then at the end with the Wakanda, and you're like, what? I just remember stopped and was like, what is happening now? And we're this is almost over. It's
halfway over.
It's halfway over. So we're like, what is happening? This show is so good. Him cutting the rug, Zemo cutting the rug was incredible. Just absolutely love it.
Do you want me to give you a fun fact about Daniel Bruhl, who
Yes.
is the actor who plays Helmut Zemo? He is the voice of Lightning McQueen in the German Cars dub.
I love that. It's perfect.
That's
That's
some information.
I feel like I
for
just
you.
need to watch that now and take it
I
all
don't-
in.
I don't speak German.
It is weird now, though, that I can only look at Corley Morgenthau as Delonte West now.
I've ruined that character for you.
You've ruined that character for me. I just imagine shooting bad threes every time.
Left-handed. Oh, come on. Delonte was wet. His jumper
He was wet in college. He wasn't that wet in the NBA.
Well,
And
when he was getting wide open jumpers off King James,
he was
driving
hitting
kicks, he
those,
was.
but yeah, and when he wasn't with King James though, yikes. But anyhow, back to this. It was just, I mean, this is when we talked about WandaVision, being like, okay, she should be up for an Emmy because she's great. This show is high quality television. I'm 100%. I don't watch, I'm not watching everything that's out there. I don't have enough time because nobody does. If you actually can keep up with everything, then, like, you don't have a job. Like, I'm not even saying you're staying at home.
Or this is your job.
Or this is actually your job. Right. Like, that's...
Yeah.
This show's incredible. Like, they understand how to have a plot. They understand how to make it... Like, they didn't force any humor in this episode. 100% did not force any. I don't feel like they did. If it was very light. It was
when they
light.
were on the plane.
Well,
they were on the plane together. It was just kind of.
I mean, you got to have something though. I mean, the whole thing is them having to have some sort of that kind of interconnection, because it can't be bland either. The idea of them.
I felt like. Well, go ahead.
No, the idea of them is to have that kind of. In a way, it's like. Here, I guess this is the best way to describe it, Brendan. If you and I are together, like actually physically together, we're going to make some bad jokes to each other. Because we have to. I mean, we make bad jokes in this show, but I just mean, like, if you're actually physically together with, like, an old friend, or even, like, someone isn't an old friend, but, people you have, like, a connection to, there's going to be some bad jokes thrown in there. Just, it's almost like, it's weird to say this, but it's forced humor. Where it's like, you have to make jokes because there needs to be some sort of way to, like, break the ice or, cut the tension. And that's what they're always doing. Because they do like each other because they had that connection to Steve. But they don't actually, like, want to like each other is the idea. And so you have to have these jokes. No, this show just keeps getting better. I think every episode is one grade up each time, which is basically saying you're going from like 9.1 to 9.2 to 9.3 because this show's awesome.
Zemo was a little bit too comfortable for my liking.
Okay, I get that.
He was just a little bit too comfortable for my liking. I felt like some of his stuff just seemed kind of forced to me, or seemed a little bit too over the top, a little bit. And so, like, this is one of the only guys. He's Sokovian. This is one of the guys. This is one of two people, one of two beings in the universe who defeated the Avengers when you come down to it.
True.
The other being Thanos, obviously. And just for him to be like, yeah, I'm down for the get down. Whatever you guys like is whatever I like. It just seemed too convenient to me. I mean, I think obviously he's going to stab them in the back.
Isn't that kind of the idea though? Like, he's trying to, like, trick them.
Yeah,
he is a mind game guy. Like, that's his whole thing.
The whole thing just seemed too convenient and too easy for me. That they're just like, oh, I guess we trust you now. Like, I mean,
well,
this guy,
don't they? They kind of have to trust him though. Who else can they like? It's not even a trust. It's almost like you have to. The only way you're going to get further is to, like, I
just don't think that there was enough. There wasn't enough. Okay, you have to do this for us, or we're going to make bad things happen for you.
I guess.
Me,
I get that to some degree.
It just seemed too convenient and too easy. That's my thing. It just seemed a little bit too easy, a little bit too convenient. The party scene was, like, really weird to me. Like, they're dancing and, like, he's dancing. He's doing this move.
So good.
It was just kind of strange. I'm super excited about where this goes with the whole Wakanda connection.
I felt like it was going to, because we need a Black Panther to kind of lead in. So I was, like, hoping. I didn't know where it was going. And plus, like, you have Bucky, who has a very Wakanda connection.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I wasn't. I guess I just wasn't expecting that, So I did appreciate that curveball, but I think overall, I mean, it's not that I didn't like the episode. I liked it just fine. And maybe I'm picking nits a little bit. I just feel like everything just seemed a little bit too easy, a little bit too forced. I don't think that, like, and I saw this online, and so I'm not going to take credit for it, but I don't think, like, deep down, I should trust Zemo more than I trust John Walker.
Right.
And I think that's what the show kind of is making you do. At the end of the day, like, this guy is still Captain America. You know what I mean? Like, we may not like him because he's not Steve Rogers, but he's not out there doing things, like, bad things, at least yet. I mean, we talked a little bit about that last week, but, like, this other guy's like one of the biggest bad guys of the MCU so far.
He might actually
And
be the
then John
biggest bad
Walker's-
guy. When you actually think of his actual...
Well, he's not even close.
Well, in a way, he kind
Half
of...
the universe.
But
Half the
his
universe.
was in this...
Half the universe.
Thanos' thing was to be like, oh, this will bring... Zemo was not about any sort of construction. Like, he did not want any structure. Thanos was just Thanos' idea was like there would be structure after this. There was some sort of like... You know what I mean? Like, Thanos was... Thanos was not... It was actually not bad-natured. And we'll get into this when we do the actual Marvel thing.
Yeah, sure.
Thanos actually was... Thanos' idea was actually good-natured. If you read the comic books, it's that too. It's actually good-natured. He just... It sucks that you have to kill half the people in the universe.
Right.
Zemo doesn't give a crap about anyone.
Well, I mean, you could say, though, that if you look at Zemo's backstory, at least in the films, he's motivated by the fact that during Ultron, his wife and child were killed, during the whole Sokovian incident. So he's got an empathetic backstory as well.
True, yeah.
So
Villains are good in Marvel movies, and people don't...
No, they're not.
I think they're good in a sense that they actually are like semi-sympathetic. I think they actually...
Sometimes.
I think most of the time they're...
Not all the time.
Loki's sympathetic.
Not all the time.
Loki's definitely sympathetic.
Hell is not.
Nah. Thanos is sympathetic. I mean, we'll get that for the Marvel thing. Get ready. This is a good preview, though, for the Marvel summer.
Yeah.
Summer of Marvel. It's going to be a whole wheel of cheese.
It's going to be marvelous.
Oh, it is.
Anyway, so that's where we're at with the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's got fun and excitement
Just
headed
watch it.
your way.
It's so good.
Each and every
Just
Friday.
Watch it, everybody.
Once it hits your lips.
So good. So moving on to something that's still happening.
It sure is.
We're moving on to MTV The Challenge, which we love this show. I'm not saying that we don't love this show, but it is somehow still happening. I feel like we're on week, I think, 107.
It's episode 17.
It's episode 17. Feels like 117.
Yeah.
We're somehow not into the finals. Don't understand how. Everybody, there's gold. I have a gold skull after this, actually. I got one. I obtained one somehow. I didn't even do anything. Just TJ Lavin came by. He's like, give me... I was like, here you go. The Daily Challenge is yet another American Gladiators ripoff, of course. Naughty didn't have her face mask done. So I hope her skincare is okay. Skincare regimen is important. Stay hydrated. As teams must pilot giant hamster balls over targets, as some teams play defense and some play offense. Amber B and Kyle nearly score an upset win, but Leroy and Casey win their 5th daily challenge. Just a juggernaut. Absolute juggernaut. It's obvious the matchup in the elimination will be Amber and Kyle versus Big T and CT. We get an old-fashioned hall brawl. Amen to that, by the way. And although she is brave, I have to be brave, and puts up a good fight. She did put up a good fight. Big T loses to Amber. The real bonehead move comes when Amber decides to take Fessy as her new partner. Nani chooses Kyle, and CT goes rogue. CT is just walking into this thing. CT and Leroy assume means... CT and Leroy are done. They're going to go into this, and CT essentially has a bye to the final round. It was so funny. Like, I love his laugh at the end where he's just like, I'm in. Thanks for giving me money, everyone. Yeah. This episode...
Boring.
So boring. I fast forward through, like, the actual
There's
scenes.
not enough people left in the house for it to be interesting. They just need to do the final.
And we finally get the final. We're finally here. I think.
I think we're one more episode than the final, because there's an odd number of men versus women.
Can we just kill
Because CT's
someone?
rogue. He needs.
Oh yeah, CT is rogue.
I have a list.
Can we just kill someone then?
Yeah.
Is that?
No, we can't.
Oh,
this has already been filmed.
That's right. It's already been filmed. We can't actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. This show is super. There's not even a good like. TJ didn't have a good moment to me in this show. I felt like he felt bored. Like, even when he's announcing this thing, he's like, hey, you guys are just going to roll around hamster balls. Good luck.
Yeah.
Remember...
Daily Challenge wasn't... Big T put up a good fight, but Hall Brawl, unless it's against, like... I feel like she could have, like, Amber B has such a height advantage, and I don't know if that's a good thing in Hall Brawl or not, but she definitely, and we talked about this last week, it's mass. Like, that's what it
literally
is in a
just
Hall
way
Brawl.
more.
And so when you're a smaller person like Big T, the amount of people that you're going to be capable of beating in there is going to be a lot smaller, because you see guys like Fessy beat people who are maybe comparable or lesser athletes fairly handily just because it's hard to move them in the sand. Now, I didn't throw this in here, but the Challenge All-Stars began on Paramount Plus. Did you watch the first episode?
I haven't watched it yet. I watched the preview.
I'm concerned someone's going to die.
Well, that makes sense. They're old. I also watched the preview of it, like the 5-6 minute preview, and CT's like, everybody's awesome here. You're the best of the best. And I was like,
no,
I don't,
TJ.
Or TJ. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I don't see CT or Wes.
No CT, no Bananas, no Wes, no.
So,
no Cara, no Laurel.
It was weird.
It's like, here was the problem with the show so far was you have these people who competed on the challenge very early in the challenge.
Right.
Where it was more about partying and the challenges weren't that tough. The good old
days.
And now they're doing like challenges that the people who are doing now are doing.
Right.
And they just can't hack it. And like they had to, the first one was they had to swim down into that. Well, that was the other thing too. And I joked, we were texting, I joked with you about this, that, you know, the real season of the challenge is filmed in Iceland, and this one looks like it was filmed in Jackson Center. It's just like somebody's house. And they had to like swim in this creek and like unleash these balls. It just, they struggled. Like only a few people were able to do it. It's going to come down to like Alton and Derek, and that's going to be a match between
Alton and Derek
two
look like
pitbulls.
the only two people that have like cared about their health.
Well, there's Darrell. Nehemiah looks like he's in pretty decent shape. Mark is 50.
Mark is 50. He looked good.
He's 49, but I'm rounding up.
He said he was like, he's like a rope. He said he's like cut like a rope or something like that. So that was good.
Yeah, well, he's cut like whatever steroids are cut like.
Right, so. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, maybe what we'll do is like, I'll watch it because I'll catch up on it. Maybe we'll do like a season review,
like a season wrap up. Yeah, because I think there's only 9.
There's only 9
I think there's
episodes.
only 9 episodes.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and I'm convinced it's because people just quit and there's a bunch of medical evacuations or somebody dies.
I hope somebody dies. I don't mean that. But you know what I mean? Like, it's just like it's good content.
Yeah, we're doing clip of the
Wes.
week now. We're doing clip of the week now because it relates to the challenge.
What is going on, everybody? This is Wes from MTV's The Challenge, aka the sexiest ginger in the world. And I am here on behalf of John Kish to give a little miniature roast, a couple of spread out roasts, actually.
What?
Not just to the BXG podcast, but also a little bit to Fessy. Because apparently Fessy is, John's words, too stupid to complete a cameo in a week. Which I don't necessarily think is stupid as much as it is lazy.
This is amazing.
The other way to look at it is he's
Just
now
keep
raking in that OnlyFans money, and so I don't really think he cares about Cameo anymore. So I'm gonna blame this one on OnlyFans. Now we have to talk about you, Greg, for just a second. Why is it that you don't know what 8 times 9 is? Are you about as intelligent as the rest of the Big Brother group? Are you like Josh, who is going to hear what's 8 times 9 and then freak out and run away? Interesting. I'm getting a lot of comparisons between you and the Big Brother people. And I don't mean that in a nice way. Now, I would also like to point out that you have broke your toes while running long distance.
I think this so
maybe
much.
You added to your weekly allotment a little too much. You're supposed to do like a little bit more every week. You're not supposed to go like a little bit and then a lot of it. And it looks like that's probably what you did. You know, without me knowing any other details, that is
incredible
quick assessment.
content.
No, I am not a doctor, but you are
I'm so
allowed to
happy
refer
right
to me as Dr. Ginger, Dr. Bergman, Dr. West. See, all those things sound way nicer than Wes from MTV's The Challenge. Actually, no. Yeah, no, I like Wes from Challenge better than being a doctor. But you're still allowed to just call me the doctor. That's an interesting little nickname. Should we call myself the doctor? Anyway, I wish you the best of luck with your nonprofit podcast, BXG. I hope that you are able to accomplish everything that you're trying to accomplish with it. I think that it is starting a podcast is one of the most entrepreneurial things that any person could do. And if you know anything about me, you know how important entrepreneurship is to me and how much I respect fellow entrepreneurs. So I wish you the best of luck. Stay patient, stay consistent, and everything is going to work out perfect for both you and the community that you're building. And real quick, John, thank you very much for putting this all together. It was very funny and thoughtful. I'm out. Bye.
Well,
So we're giving John K, JJK, like 10 media points for that. 10 social media points.
he wins.
He wins, probably.
That's the greatest moment in my social media life. So, show was great tonight, Brenton. 2 a.m. Hawaii time. Aloha.
So here's the thing
I'm sweating. That was amazing. John, thank you so much. Thanks for ripping on me. I love when people rip on me. Fuels the fire. I understand running. It happens. You hit things, but I don't care. This was amazing. I'm so hot right now. I can't. This shirt's polyester probably too, but also, wow, what I kind of want to. If I could emote tears, I would. What a moment!
So here's
for
the
us.
funny part. He texted me last night. He says I'm going to go on a tirade because he tried to get Fessy because we talk so much shit on him.
Oh my god!
every week,
so good.
and he just didn't fulfill the obligation. And then he said, I got something better. And within 24 hours, he did that. And actually, if you go to cameo.com and go to Wes's page, he has your video up as a sample as if you want to roast someone. So that's where we're at. And we appreciate
I
the
got
Cameo
roasted by Wes.
from the challenge.
It might be the best moment of my life.
Yeah.
Sorry,
pretty
Jenny.
cool.
Sorry. I'm just. This is fucking cool. Like, I'm freaking out right now. Like, Brenton has known me for. Have you seen me look?
You're flustered.
I'm so flustered right now.
You're an easily flustered person.
I'm an
but
easily flustered person, but like I know how to contain my flusteredness.
Right.
I don't know what I do now. That was awesome. That was.
We move on.
I understand cameos.
That's what we
People
do.
do things you do, but that was really cool.
Right.
And thanks, John, and thanks, Wes, from the challenge.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a moment! Thanks, John.
What a moment.
We do move
All
on.
right.
Go ahead, Brenton.
Let's see here. Number 5, Texas Rangers. The Rangers stayed true to their state by giving 0 fucks as the team allowed full capacity, roughly 38,238 fans Monday for their home opener. The Rangers listed several mandates for those attending home games, including no outside food and social distancing in concession lines and concourse. Although the state of Texas has repealed its statewide mask mandate, the Rangers said those in attendance at home games must continue to wear them to stem the spread of COVID-19.
So I brought this up for 2 reasons. Did you watch any? Have you seen any of the highlights of this? Lowlights of?
No.
No one gave a crap about the mandates. It was mask off. It was it was Trump coming out ripping the mask off. It was insanity. It felt so weird. I actually had a dream because I was telling Janie about it right before I went to bed last night. I was like, oh, the Rangers had their home opener. It looked super terrifying. And I had a dream about it where, we got to go to a baseball game and everyone, they told us in the thing, in the email, congratulations, you got invited to this game. And we got to go, and then it was chaos.
Yeah.
And Dodger Stadium holds, 50,000 people.
I'm pretty sure this is how The Walking Dead starts.
Sure.
In real life.
Yeah.
Like in actual real life.
And so I was like, I have a terrifying dream. Sorry, I'm still super sweaty from the West thing. But it was my dream was weird. The Rangers thing was super weird. And then I was it brought me to this realization because I wanted to go a couple different ways with this. I had Aaron Rodgers hosting Jeopardy. There was a couple different things, but then I wanted to go with this because I was like, what's the first thing you'll do when you can do it? Like, and you'll feel comfortable doing it. Like, what do you want to do? Like, do you want to go to an amusement park? Do you want to go to a baseball game? Do you want to go to a concert?
Yeah.
Do you just want to, like, go outside amongst people? Because that's, like, the thing where I was just like, this, like, terrified me. I've been super cautious through all this. Really have been. And, like, luckily I'm fully vaccinated, even though people crap on me and say because you have the Johnson & Johnson, whatever. I'm vaccinated.
It's whatever.
It's whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm vaccinated. I treat it like when you get the flu vaccine, you're not free from the flu.
Immune to the flu, right?
But other people are like, I saw a lady the other day. It's like, don't worry, I'm fully vaccinated. It's like, you can still get it, you old hag, whatever.
You old hag.
You could actually still die from it. That's still and cases are going up. So,
right.
What I want to know is though, like, what do you think you'll be the first thing most comfortable doing? That's why
Movie.
I put this in. Movie? That's indoors, though.
Because I think I wouldn't go see, like, a movie that's going to be packed and sold out.
Okay.
But, like, I know if it's going to be, like, a matinee and it's going to be sparse in the seats, and I know that I'm going to be able to pick my seat and not sit next to anybody that I don't know.
Sure.
I'll go see a movie at the Guthrie because the theater's enormous.
It's enormous now?
Yeah, well, it's always
been
huge.
enormous, but
like
yeah,
in
right.
terms of seating.
Right. Yeah,
it's not overly comfortable.
Right.
But in terms of actual seating, it's always been big. I would go see a movie there right now.
Okay.
Because nobody else is, you know what I mean? Like, not a lot of people. Like, outdoor stuff. I mean, we went to the beach last year.
Sure.
We just try to stay away from everybody.
I mean, the beach is like the beach. I mean, I live by the beach.
I wouldn't go to a concert. I wouldn't go to a concert. I wouldn't go to a base. I'm not going to go to any baseball games this year.
I will.
Which is really depressing because that'll be 2 years in a row. That's easily the longest I've gone since I was probably born.
I'll probably end up going to a baseball game this year. Late August. I saw that California is going to open up 100% capacity mid-June.
Yeah, I saw that too. I doubt that sticks.
That's not going to stick. There's no way that's going to stick.
Yeah.
I'll go. I'm not going to do anything weird. Like, normally you go to a baseball game, you have a couple beers. Like, you make that kind of your meal, too, when you go. I'll probably go, like, right before and get a meal so I'm not hungry, so I don't have to stand in line.
Right. Yeah, sure.
If I get a beer, like, I probably just won't. I probably just won't get a beer. You got to drink something when you're at a game because there's 9 innings and it's 80 degrees outside in L.A. Yeah, it's weird, though, that, like, so many people, and I understand it's Texas, and I lived in Texas. I did.
Don't mess with it.
Don't mess with it at all. They don't care. They don't give a crap. Austin, Dallas, and Houston are the only cities that actually give a crap about people. And Dallas is Arlington adjacent, but it isn't, it is what it is. It's weird to me that, like, people are, like, you've had a year and you're still just like, I don't care. I think only 16% of people are, like, fully vaccinated in the entire country. So that's weird to me. I know we're getting kind of, like, political, but I mean, I think the first thing I would do is something outdoors, but not a concert because people are going to be, like, singing.
Yeah. Well, and so close to each other.
But I'm assuming that, like, people are still kind of spread out. If you're singing, you're still projecting, like, stuff. I don't want that. Projectiling spit. I don't know. They're spitting on people at the end of the day. I mean,
right.
My Taylor Swift concert got canceled. My Billie Eilish concert got canceled. A bunch of stuff got canceled. But it's just,
is Billie Eilish in concert just like a talk show? How's that work?
I don't know. I haven't seen her.
Oh,
I'll let you know when I see her.
Touché.
It would be fun if it was.
Yeah, I feel like that's what that is.
Yeah,
it's just a talk show.
It'll be weird. I'm just, COVID's still around. Don't worry about it. It's still gonna haunt your dreams, everyone, like it did mine. So we'll move on, and this is a nice little segment we're doing now. I like this, the movie news wrap up. So Josh Whedon, who sucks. So there's more of abuse allegations with him. An interview with THR Ray Fisher, who is always in this. It could be the Ray Fisher podcast, actually. And an anonymous source said Whedon clashed with every star. Shocking. He told Fisher
On the Justice League.
Yeah.
Just to clarify.
Sure. he told Fisher he doesn't take notes from actors, not even Robert Downey Jr., which is insane to me. He was also reported that Wonder Woman star Gal Gadot, queen of the show, took her grievances to Warner execs after Whedon allegedly threatened her career and spoke poorly of Wonder Woman director Patty Jenkins. Allegedly, Whedon told Gadot that she would shut up and read her lines, or he would make her look incredibly stupid in the film. That's nice. He's just seems like a stellar guy. Good hang.
I looked up. Here's the thing that's the ongoing thing that's bothering me about this is that, you know, all the people that he worked on, Buffy and Angel and Firefly and all that, have come out and said, like, yeah, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Where are the Marvel people? Say anything. Say good things or bad things.
It is weird.
Say, well, we don't condone the alleged allegations, but, you know, Joss was a model citizen while working on Avengers.
Maybe because Avengers was just so good and so well done that he didn't have to, like, do anything different. You know what I mean? Like, that movie's great. Like, it was written really well, and maybe so he didn't have to do anything to, like, get on people. But, like, once something's a little off, maybe that's his problem. I don't know. I mean,
the reason they parted ways was because of studio and director issues over Ultron.
Right.
Over Age of Ultron. I just want to hear anybody say anything.
Sure.
On the Marvel side. Yeah. I want to say, but because I'm starting to think, like, deep down, that this was some sort of conspiracy. Like, they're like, oh, the Justice League might be good if Zack does it and he's leaving, so let's plant a mole. You know what I mean?
Could be. I mean,
I don't really think that, but the fact that nobody has said anything is suspicious to me.
It is super weird. I mean, I don't. Yeah, you know,
the silence is deafening.
Yeah, right. It's one of those things where, like, I don't know and I don't want to say anything. I mean,
okay, if
weird.
he's throwing out, allegedly he's throwing out Robert Downey Jr.'s name.
Yeah.
All right, Bob. Say something. Say something about it. Good, bad, or indifferent.
Good, bad, or different. Yeah. It is
you
weird.
Know what I mean?
It is weird.
Say anything.
Because you feel like Robert Downey Jr. would do something if something was worthy of it. Or Chris Evans would do something. You know, there's two people right there.
Yeah.
Two people right there. And
or Ruffalo.
Or Ruffalo, yeah. But,
yeah.
I mean, it's...
Ruffalo and Evans don't have a hard time speaking their mind.
No, they don't. Right.
You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's fishy that nobody said anything.
It's
just...
You know, it could be one of those things where, like, they don't want to say... Maybe they just don't want to
make
say
a
something
statement.
good.
Give me like bullshit political or non-political, like PC PR.
Right, like, I personally didn't deal with anything with Josh Whedon, but maybe other people did. Yeah.
We do not condone the alleged allegations, but blah, blah, blah.
Weird.
Give us anything. Say something. Another Suicide Squad trailer. That was quick.
Yeah, that was...
One right behind the other.
You know, also, it's just, like the way you said it, another one. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was like the first one, and then everybody made a big deal about it, and then like 5 days later, there's another one.
First Space Jam,
yeah.
A new legacy trailer.
Oh, man,
I'm about this life,
bad.
my guy. I'm
No, this
about
movie looks
this.
terrible.
No, it looks good.
No, it looks awful.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be so much fun.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be fun.
No.
Yep. I 100% think.
I can't wait for your review of that, because if you were so hyped for Godzilla versus Kong and you took a big poo-poo platter all over it.
I'm excited. I said the other day, I said it aloud in the bookstore that I work at. I was like, every generation should have a Space Jam. It's never going to be as good as Michael Jordan's Space Jam, because nothing's going to be as good as any Michael Jordan thing, including his baseball career, because that was super weird.
New trailers for Loki and Black Widow.
On it.
The Loki one looks sweet.
Loki looks amazing.
I'm tired of seeing Black Widow stuff. Show me the movie.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The movie's supposed to come out a year ago, and like they're just trying to...
Yeah.
They have to do something. Loki
Keep
looks
interest.
amazing.
Sure.
I'm so... June
Yeah, Loki
12th?
looks something like that. Loki looks rad.
Yeah.
For sure.
NBC Universal may pull films from Netflix and HBO Max prior towards their own streaming service, Peacock, which is fun to say.
Peacock.
This would include the Fast and the Furious franchise, among others.
I think that's the main one.
Yeah.
Is the Fast.
Sure.
Those movies are still a thing.
They make a lot of money, and they're apparently still good.
They do make a lot of money.
People tell me they're still good.
Well, we should do. That's going to be a BXG.
Let's do it. Let's go through all of them.
We have a lot on the docket.
But I mean, at some point, we could do a Fast and the
October.
Furious, maybe a Fast and Furious fall. Ooh.
Netflix buys Knives Out 2 and 3 for $450 million. Daniel Craig to star, Ryan Johnson to direct. Do you know what was really funny about this? Sometimes when I write the show, I just screw up.
Sure.
As you do.
Yeah.
Right? But I accidentally wrote his name as Ruin Johnson, which is funny because he fucking ruined Star Wars.
These movies are really, or Knives Out's really good though. I love that movie.
Ruin Johnson.
But he did not ruin this movie, and I mean, I love Knives Out. We'll see what happens in Knives Out 2 and 3. I love the original.
Ruined.
I love that. I'll see what happens in Knives Out 2,
Wars.
and then we'll go forward with that.
It.
But Knives Out 1 is
Ruined it.
superb. It's a
Ruined it.
watch.
Star Wars.
2016 Suicide Squad director David Ayer wants to release the Ayer's cut, saying he made a really good movie, but it scared the shit out of the executives.
Nobody wants to see that movie.
Nobody
I don't want to
gives
see
a
that
crap
movie.
about that. Easy there.
Nobody wants to see
Easy
that
there,
movie.
David Ayer.
Yeah, he's piggybacking.
Yep. I mean, somebody was going to. That seems like it was just going to happen.
Remember
Remember when Wes gave us a cameo, Breton?
I do remember
That was
that.
amazing.
I've actually been really excited because I've shown a bunch of people all day. I've sent it to other people. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to surprise Greg with this tonight. It's going to be awesome.
Closest I've ever come to
And I didn't
crying.
even set it up. So
Unless I'm watching Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, yeah.
We should do a watch like Brett and Greg at the movies at home where we just live stream us and just people can watch me just lose my shit.
I'm good. PS Plus and Xbox games with gold for April. April sees a heavy dose of zombie action for PlayStation Plus subscribers as we get Sony bent PS4 exclusive Days Gone, which I platinumed back in January or February. Rebellion Development's alternative timeline, Zombie Army 4 Dead War, and PS5 owners get the latest entry in the long-running Oddworld series, Oddworld Soulstorm from developer Oddworld Inhabitants. Xbox games with gold has a pretty soft lineup, further proving the real subscription service for Xbox is Game Pass. Dark Void, Viking World of Midgar, Truck Racing Championship, and Hardcore Uprising come to games with gold. As always, even if you have no intention to play these games now, if you are a subscriber to these services, make sure you claim them, as they may tickle your fancy at a later date. I look at these Xbox games, and they just look like somebody played fucking Scrabble.
Oh,
Like, it looks like a
I was gonna say,
Scrabble board.
I just thought people
It's
put
just a
their
bunch of words,
names in a
like,
word
put together.
generator. That's the way I look at it. It's like word generator, make
it's
a game.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I'm actually pretty excited to play Oddworld. I'm going to play that.
Okay, nice.
Do you remember Oddworld back in the day?
Yeah, I do
for
remember
PS1?
it. Yeah, I do remember it. Yeah, it was fun.
Abe's
It
Odyssey.
was actually a lot of fun. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, I already played. Days Gone, I recommend to a certain extent for people who are into open world games and motorcycles and zombies.
Yeah. I mean, Xbox is funny. Anyhow, so Sony made and published the MLB The Show 2021 and will come day one to Microsoft Game Pass. Whoa. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't like that.
You don't like that?
I don't like that.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, I don't.
I understand why you don't like it.
The fanboy in me doesn't like it. I didn't I was fine with Xbox getting the show because there are no other good baseball games out there, like no other good baseball simulation games out there. And I do think, whether people want to agree or disagree, that having a vibrant community in the video game space for your sport helps grow interest in the sport.
Right.
And so if you're leaving half the people on the table who play Xbox or Nintendo or PC or whatever, then I was fine with it coming to Xbox. I just don't like that it's on Game Pass. I don't think, and so that tells me that baseball is bullying Sony to a certain extent.
Probably.
Because they're the ones who probably would have said, hey, you're doing this. They're the ones who said they have to put it on other platforms, or they were going to take the license away. So either way. Nike got a temporary restraining order placed on the Lil Nas X Satan shoes that we talked about last week. he was upset that he couldn't give the 666th shoe away.
Makes sense.
Pair of shoes.
Pair of shoes.
Not just single.
Yeah.
Not just single shoes.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a big thing. You and I were like, I mean, like, I was like, there's other people doing these things. It was just a big name doing something.
It was, yeah. Well, and here's the thing, and like I said last week in the episode when we talked about it, was don't call attention. I wouldn't have known about this if Nike wasn't throwing a hissy fit about this.
Exactly.
But because it came across, trending news websites, mainstream media outlets, and things like that. Nobody would have known about it.
No.
Like, they're worried about, our name's going to get sullied because of this. It's like, if you hadn't said shit over 666 shoes, nobody would have given a crap.
Right.
But because you made a big poo-poo stink about it, now everybody's like, oh, what's this? What are these shoes about? Oh, those look cool. Let me see if I can get some on the, You watch. They're going to end up making more of these things. That's what's going to happen.
Well, Nike will make something similar to it. And they'll figure out a way. I mean, that's which shoe company. It was like any company.
No, but like we said though, and I'm gonna monitor these things. Actually, I'm gonna take a peek right now, because that some of these are getting resold. I'm gonna look up on eBay.
Sure, yeah.
And see if any of these are on here.
I 100% guess they are.
Because there's probably rip-off.
Oh,
version.
the rip-offs, yeah.
I don't know if these are. I don't know enough about shoes, but hell yeah! Guess what? Here you go. The sponsored MSCHF Cross Little Nas X Air Max 97 Satan shoes. Guess how much? Best offer.
$1,200.
$6,666.66.
Of course, I wasn't thinking. That's my.
There's one there's 4,800. There's 4,400. There's 5,600. Or I'm sorry, 50. Yeah, 5,600. Like these are on sale for $5,666.66. There's 15.
No one's gonna
watches
buy
on it.
those though. That's like one of those weird things. Like, if you're buying,
Well, let's see.
If you're buying this for $1,000,
Because you can.
yeah, I don't know.
Because you can see if some
The
of them have
off-white
sold.
Jordans are they're my favorite shoes. It's a specific Jordan. I won't get into it. If I was super rich, I might spend $2,000 for the ones that I want, but that's as high as I would ever go. And I'm a sneakerhead, so
There's a way to sort this so that you can see recently purchased ones. I'm not going to get. We're getting.
I'll look into it.
We're getting way off topic now.
So we'll move
either.
forward. Robert Pattinson's The Batman will take place on Earth 2, an alternate timeline, Earth in the DC universe, which will just confuse things further. That's fun.
Jesus Christ.
I mean, I'm stoked about this Batman. I'm stoked about this Batman. Why we have to put this on Earth 2 is
Why we have to say it just further confuses things, and that's what DC's problem is.
they just don't want
And I saw a bunch of other stuff about they're planning on doing this, that, or the other thing with the DCEU. And I didn't see it on a credible source, so I didn't include it in the show. But if it pops up, we'll talk about it. But they're just doing dumb stuff. Like,
They don't know what they're doing.
like don't say don't say anything.
Say
Just
nothing.
let it be a movie.
Yep.
Let it be a Batman movie.
Yep. Nope.
And if people want to act like this is the Marvel effect because everything's in the MCU, right? So as things kind of trickle in through like the Fox acquisition or whatever with like the different X-Men stuff or this or that, but just don't say anything.
It's so easy to not say anything.
Just say it's a Batman movie. It stars Robert Pattinson.
Boom.
Commissioner Gordon's black. Andy Serkis plays Alfred.
You have a movie.
There's the movie. It looks cool.
Looks super cool.
His symbol's made out of the guns that murdered his parents.
Yep.
I will say this, and I meant to say this when we did the Godzilla versus Kong review. I really liked the part where they're like screaming at each other or like roaring at each other's faces. I just imagine they were screaming Martha,
That makes sense.
and that's why they were like cool with each other afterwards. Maybe they were screaming Mothra.
Maybe.
Mothra.
Mothra. That'd be funny. I respect that.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's what they're doing. Oh, just don't make
Meteor-
Earth 2 a
Meteor.
thing. DC, just get your crap together, DC.
Just make it a just make it a movie. It doesn't have
Make
to be
a
a
good
thing.
movie, DC.
Media recommendations.
So I finally finished the Ferrante series because
That's exciting.
It's awesome, amazing. I loved it. It's just a passion piece. We end up with characters, united and divided, and that's what I wanted from it. It ended in a different way it ended in a way that I was like, oh, it's gonna end in the way I thought, and then it didn't, and I was happy with it. And sad. I was super sad. I was bummed, but it's the way the book ends. It's not supposed to be, Elena Ferrante is known for being sad, and I was pumped about that. So now I'm on to a second book. I'm reading Rachel Cusk, which she has a trilogy, but I'm doing the thing I did with Ferrante, where I read her like a single story first, and it's a pre-reader. It's called Second Place. Just started that. I'm excited about it. I really like it originally. And then the movie I'll recommend was Bad Trip with Eric Andre. If you just want to watch just like a stupid movie and you like Eric Andre, which I love Eric Andre because he gets it, he understands it right now. I can't recommend Bad Trip enough. It's on Netflix. It's super funny. It's really good. It's really good in a different way. It's just he gets it. It's low level. It's lowbrow humor, but like high velocity humor, which I love. So, what about you, Brenton? I'm still playing Ratchet and Clank, by the way. I'm slowly going through it. You finished it, I see.
Yeah, I finished it. I beat it for the fourth time. I beat it on hard. Not that it
Nice.
was actually difficult for me. I didn't really I started it last Tuesday, but I didn't start it in earnest until probably Friday. So it only took me 3 or 4 nights to play through. But like I said before, I've played through it several times before. I know it pretty well, ins and outs. I didn't do any of the collectibles. I just played the story. I did all the extra side missions, but I didn't really, I
play through it
played
10 minutes every other day.
Yeah. Right.
That's how I do it.
Yeah.
It's fun though. I like it.
Yeah, it's crazy fun. Like I said, especially later in the game when you get some of the different crazy weapons and stuff like that. You get
I'm excited about the weapons.
You get the sheepinator and things. It's pretty wild. I'm really looking forward to the new one here in a month or two. But I'm still just kind of working on Bravely Default 2. But that's kind of it. I don't really do. I mean, it was a holiday weekend, so we're doing holiday stuff.
How was Easter?
That was good.
You're not a big Easter fan. How were the kids?
Good.
Yeah.
Easter Bunny brought them stuff.
Did you do an Easter egg hunt?
They did a couple. Yeah, we didn't do one here.
Yeah.
They did one at my mom's and at my
Did
wife's.
you color eggs?
Yeah, we did do that.
Did you do the kit or did you do your own
Just
home
kit.
guys?
Kit.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the way to do it.
I hate Easter. It's my least favorite holiday.
Yeah, that's why I brought it up.
Yep. So thanks for that.
What's your number one holiday?
Thanksgiving.
Good holiday, man. Great holiday.
What?
Number 2 for me.
Oh.
Number 2 for me is Thanksgiving. Number 1 is 4th of July.
Right.
What? Do you have 4th of July ranked high?
I like
it's fun.
the,
It's a fun holiday.
Yeah, I like the summer holidays, which I include Memorial Day, 4th of July, and Labor Day as the summer holidays because they're all good
Memorial is the
cookout.
first.
They're all good cookout.
Cookout. I like
Yeah,
this. I like
baseball.
the holiday. Yeah. See, my thing with July 4th, and maybe we can do this going forward, or whatever. I don't care. I'm just getting into it right now. The thing I love about July 4th and Thanksgiving, food holidays. Different food holidays, but food holidays.
And sports.
And sports. So July 4th, it's literally, if you live in California, you have baseball on at 9 a.m.
Yep.
Plus you have the hot dog eating contest. So you have hot dog eating contest, you have baseball, and you're just drinking. You're hitting light. You're having nice beers in the morning. Maybe an 11:30 beer. I mean, I still keep my morning pretty light. You want your coffee, you want your eggs. But then you're having a little hot dogs, you're having some baseball during the day. You're chilling out. It's a nice holiday. Thanksgiving, same thing. You got your football on. You have a little, I try to do a light breakfast on Thanksgiving. Not a heavy. I don't want to drink too early in the day because I'm preparing the feast normally now. But then when you're preparing the feast, I have a nice little beer on the side. So yeah, 1-2. But this is that's where we're at now. Easter is a low level holiday for me.
It's the
Low
worst
level.
holiday. And it's not even close.
It might actually end up being my worst holiday if I actually ranked it.
No.
I'm
not saying it's your worst holiday or my worst holiday. I'm saying
but we should have a holiday rankings.
Definitively, Easter is the worst holiday.
Oh, you mean like not even you?
I'm not even giving you
in general.
Yeah, I'm not giving you the option.
Should we do a holiday ranking episode?
Well, we're not going to do it right now.
But not now. But I mean, we should.
I don't know that we need to rank holidays. Maybe if there's a really slow week, we can rank holidays.
Late August.
Training camp.
So late August.
Yeah, you never know. Something might happen.
I love ranking anything, so.
I'm aware. Speaking of that, we're going to be on tournament style with our friend Guillermo, hopefully next week.
I'll be on. So that's going to be, you and I are both going to be on?
Yeah, we're both going to be on. Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if it was
they're going to have us both.
Actually, Thursday should be best, Brian.
Yeah, that's what I told him.
Yeah. Okay, good.
BXG podcast publishes every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 4 a.m. Pacific, 2 a.m. Hawaiian time.
Aloha. Goodbye and hello.
On podcast services around the globe, Spotify podcast, Google podcast, Apple podcasts, Amazon. I'm very
Wes was on our show, Brenton.
Wes was kind of on our show. Social media at BXG, on Instagram at GTFills at Y2B, Facebook.com/BXG podcast, YouTube.com/BXG podcast, where you will be treated to a double feature this week: the Godzilla vs. Kong review, and also Greg reacting to Wes's cameo. We'll also have that. That'll be nice. So you can check that out over there on the old YouTubes. But please continue to I'm very tired. Continue to share, like, respond to our social media posts, rate and review, 5-star, 5-star. It really helps on Apple with finding a different,
Apple's where you want to do it.
Yeah, so rate over there, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Tell everybody you know. We had the best month that we've ever had in March. We'd love to top that in April.
Do it.
And we've got we want to thank Eddie for coming on, talking some wrestling.
Thank you, Eddie.
Some new wrestling, some old wrestling with us. We had a good time with that. And tell your friends, tell your families.
Tell your mothers
about the unmistakable essence of the BXG podcast. Take care.